And good evening, everyone. It's One Position Wisdom coming to you with a breakdown and giving you my opinion on this Rick Chow verdict. Rick Chow, earlier today, was found not guilty of the murder of Cyrus Carmack-Belton. About 2 years ago, 3 years ago, long story short, Cyrus Carmack-Belton went inside of the convenience store that the Chows owned. Um, there's surveillance video footage that I'll throw up on the screen. But he walked inside of the store. He was asked to put his backpack at the front of the store and leave it there, into which he complied. He then walked to the back of the store where the refrigerator was, opened it, grabbed a couple water bottles, and then about a second later, put the water bottles back, walked back to the front. And that's kind of where the whole interaction between the Chows and the Cyrus family starts. They go off accusing him of stealing the water bottles, to which he goes in his pockets and shows that, oh, yeah, I don't have a water bottle. But you could see that he's trying to conceal something in his pockets. But nonetheless, he ends up turning around and walking out the store. And from there, that's when the Chows, Andy Chow, the son of Rick Chow, ends up running behind Cyrus in a 150-yard chase. And during that 150-yard chase, according to Andy Chow, who went on the stand a couple days prior, who said that during this chase, Cyrus Carmack fell to the ground, and as he was on the ground, getting up from the ground, he had a gun in his hand, pointing the gun at Andy. Andy then says that he backed up, saying he has a gun 2 times, in which now then Rick Chow comes with his gun, tells Cyrus, drop it, drop it. Cyrus Cyrus replies no, and then he shot him. Now, my opinion on this whole situation is I think it was an injustice done for the simple fact that how is it legal for two adults who, first of all, didn't even know the 14-year-old boy had a firearm in the first place? And now I'm not saying that it's right for a 14-year-old boy to have a firearm. It's not legal. But in this instance and in this case, I feel like Cyrus Carmack Belton had more self-defense and legal justification than they did. And I'll explain why. Because from a moment you leave the store, right? Even if you thought there was a threat at the time when he was inside of the store, even though we all know and we've seen the footage that, listen, he went in there, he might have wanted to steal and then decided not to because, for whatever reason, it kind of looked like he probably wanted to because realistically, he did go in there with an empty backpack and then he did go in there without any money. So it kind of plays into the, why would he go in there without it? It's kind of common sense, really, especially to a jury and a 14-year-old boy at that. But the facts are facts. He didn't steal any water bottles. He put them back. He just trying to leave. And then these guys pursued Chase. And I'm trying to figure out how is it legal for two adults who, first of all, they didn't even know he had a gun. They thought he stole water. If he stole water and you thought this, the legal way to go about this would be to call the police, not run down a 14-year-old boy 150 yards to where now you claim he pointed a gun. Let's say he did point the gun, though. If he pointed a gun, wouldn't it be more justified for him to point that gun in self-defense, considering that Rick Chow is chasing him down with his son with a gun? He had a gun, okay? And for all we know, we don't even really know what happened because we don't have the surveillance. The witnesses that came on the stand said they never seen him with a gun, but that never played a factor, I guess. Or maybe it did, and it just wasn't enough to convict because at the end of the day, race played a big part in this. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but at the end of the day, it's the truth. Race and, you know, just this stereotype that, oh, you have a black kid who's 14, he's carrying a gun. People are saying that online he's posting guns and he was, I guess, I'm not sure if this is true, but allegedly he was um, charged with some armed robberies with the same gun. This is what people are saying online. I don't know if this is true or not. You're gonna have to let me know in the comments below if this is true or not, but basically they're gonna paint this picture as this, your average black kid, young black kid who's just ghetto. Parents didn't give a damn. He's probably, you know, single mother or whatever they're saying online, because that's what they always try to paint. And he was just, a bad kid who just that day he tried to steal something. He had a firearm and he pointed a gun, and that was enough to convince the jury that it was self-defense. Now a lot of people are not happy about it, of course, and I could see why. I mean, this case is really messy if you want the truth. I don't think this is a clear-cut case of self-defense. And obviously, I mean, it wasn't, considering Rick Chow had to sit in jail for 3 years. But I just think America and what they have going on in America is backwards. Because you guys want these laws to where you're allowed to have guns. You're allowed to teach your kid how to use a gun. You're allowed to do all these things. But now when it comes to self-defense cases and these type of situations, it's like they don't give a damn about the law. Now it's all about what picture can you paint. And that's what happened in this case, really. They painted a picture of a black kid that was just bad, and it was only a matter of time before something happened. And that's how they painted it. But realistically, the facts are facts. Even the autopsy, right? The lady that she took the stand to show that the bullet wound that Cyrus obtained from the gunshot from Rick could have only happened and is consistent with somebody running away from the shot, not standing forward pointing a gun. Now, a lot of people online have said, well, there's lots of times when, the police get in get in situations and they have to run and shoot from behind them and so on and so forth. That isn't a self-defense situation, right? If you're in a situation where there's firearms being fired, right? Most likely you're going to protect yourself with your firearm if you have one, right? And if, you know, it's getting really, what's the word? Complicated where you need to run, you might run and shoot. But that's a totally different thing than he got up and pointed a gun. How do you get up and point a gun from behind you? This is what doesn't make sense to me, in my opinion. But, this is really what it is, man. This is what's going on in the black community. This is what is the issue in the black community is this guns and these kids having guns. And this is the thing. We need to do better. Because at the end of the day, we could say a lot of things about this case. We can say Cyrus is in the right. He should have defended himself. They should have went to jail. We could say whatever, but let's throw the case to the side and let's focus on the community. In the black community, we have an issue where we feel like we need to have a gun because we either have enemies, quote unquote, to deal with, or we're in a gang, or we're trying to, you know, survive because out there is rough, in those hoods and then those communities where, a lot of people are carrying guns and dying. So if that's how it's going, like as a kid, you're scared and you're gonna want to protect yourself because not every kid that lives in those communities is just trying to gangbang. But the problem is like you guys gotta build up your communities better, bro. That's what it comes down to, man. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no reason why everyone in the community can't get along. You know what I'm saying? To the point where your child has to walk around with a gun, can't even go to school without a gun. A lot of kids I'm seeing in these places, like Chicago, Memphis, all over the place, Atlanta, they're all going to schools with guns. You know what I'm saying? And even though this has been a thing, it's not like it's something new. It's just that it's getting out of control because now we have these type of weapons that really aren't just killing people that they're trying to target, but it's killing innocent people. And then it's getting put in the wrong hands. You know, it's getting put in the wrong hands, and then situations like this comes, and then now it creates a big uproar. And like I said, race plays a big factor in a lot of these situations. If Cyrus was a different race, any race, any other race but the race he is, this news would not even be as big as it was. And that's just a fact. It wouldn't even be as big. all of this would have just been, oh yeah, just another, not really another, but just a case of, oh, some kid just doing some kid stuff. But when it comes to a black kid, it's not, oh, he's just a black kid, he's just a kid. No. It's no, he's a animal who needs to be controlled because these kids are out of control and they just possess guns and they're in the streets and they're killing people. And that's how they portray black children. That is how they portray black children. That's just the fact of it. And at the end of the day, I understand that when you live in these environments, sometimes you don't have a choice but to do what you got to do. Have your gun, you know, but you got to want more. You know what I'm saying? Anything outside the purpose of protecting yourself don't make sense. If you don't need a gun, you shouldn't have one. Period. And if you do need one, then there should be a resolution to where you could avoid these issues and go to another place and stuff like that. And this is why I'm saying like having money and focusing on studying your finances and these things in the black community is a big thing. People need to start doing that because these communities are not helping you guys. It's not helping. These things happen because of the environment you're in. But you gotta create your environment, And sometimes you gotta work hard, you know. And this system ain't designed for us to win at the end of the day. And people could say, oh well, it's not slavery anymore, and there's no more racism. Racism is still rampant and as ever, and it's even more rampant with the people that are in the higher ups, that are up there that really own all the things that we like television, like the streaming stuff, like all these things that these people are doing today. They're the owners of this music, everything. So you think that they don't play a part in how things go? Even with regular jobs, when you work at a regular job, it's not owned by no black guy. It's not owned by no black owned business owner that's has a franchise and a multi-billion dollar, franchise. No. So you think that that doesn't play a part in who gets these jobs and who gets the actually get the benefits and who doesn't? Of course it does. You understand? R.I.P. Cyrus Carmack-Belton. It was unfortunate. I don't think justice was served in this case, and we'll see what happens moving forward. I think I heard something about the family going to sue. I think they already started actually, but I think they're gonna sue Rick Chow's store for this situation. And obviously this is causing an uproar. Obviously, all the racists are online talking about, yay, good for Rick Chow. Yeah, he's honorable, saying all these things. They don't give a damn about a black life. And this is another thing that needs to be said. Like, all lives matter at the end of the day. It doesn't matter about who it is. A child is a child. But you need to understand that with these people and certain people, that is not the same view that they're sharing with us. And at the end of the day, we need to protect our own before we start trying to go out there and agreeing with the other side and trying to compromise. We've compromised enough for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and we still compromise today. So at the end of the day, we need to take stuff into our own hands and start building up our people to do better so that these outcomes cannot happen. Because, like I said, if this was another child, this wouldn't happen. If this was a white kid that had a gun and this and that, they would paint this like, oh, he was just a kid, and he just likes weapons and whatever. That's how they do it. So that's all I gotta say on this topic, man. It's your boy, One Position Wisdom. Let me know what you're thinking about this topic in the comments. Do you think that the verdict was correct in that Rick Chow did everything in self-defense, or should this be a case of straight cold-blooded murder? Y'all let me know in the comments. Y'all tap that subscribe button, and I'm out.